Good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to jump on. Who do we have on? We've got a few people already. 5 minutes to go, so I'm just going to keep us warm and engaged until we really start the webinar. Today's webinar, guys, correct me on that, is going to be about the reference checking, in particular from the demo point of view, but also we're going to talk about the two upcoming products, which is the police check as well as the visa check, which they will be rolled out over the next few months. And we will give you, ETAs and talk about quickly how you expect it to work, but also the pricing model, how you would be buying those police checks and visa checks and stuff like that. So we will spend about 5 minutes talking about each of them. But the bulk of today's webinar will be focused on the automated reference checking. We will do a step-by-step demo or training, if you like, on how to set it up, how to configure it, how to customize it, customize the communication emails to either the candidates or to the referees, as well as, of course, the questionnaire to the referees, what questions you want to ask and the referees to learn about the candidate. So we will go through that step by step, and we will talk also about the fact that it can be fully 100% automated or works on its own, or it can be whereby you want to automate the process of just collecting the answers, collecting the referees from the candidate. And once the referees are obtained, then you might want to manually call the referees. You can use it that way as well. And sometimes you can even interfere whereby you've collected the answers. You can see the questionnaires being completed by the referees, but you're not happy with them, or you want to maybe add another person. It is not just a one-way train, and you can't change it, and you can't add anything to it. We'll show you that it's quite flexible in terms of that you be able to sort of intervene and add value to the process as well. So that's why it's going to take us about 45 minutes to set it up, configure it, customize it, and show you when you're actually using it through the course of it being in flight, how you see the progress and how you can intervene. Does that make sense?
Yep, very good. And we'll
awesome.
just break the ice with the poll. We'll do that at 11 as well.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We've got the first question that will be rolled out at 11.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Cool. We've got Jesse and Jasmine from account management, as always, sort of join us. They're part of this webinar to just make sure that you get to know them and they are available for you to reach out. And the one thing I want to emphasize when everybody's on the call, so I'll repeat what I'm about to say now, is the fact that you can reach out, to account management about any issue that you might be having. In the sense, they can be your first escalation point. Let's say you've been interacting with support and you're not happy about how that is going. You can reach out to the account manager and say, look, I haven't heard from support for 3-4 days. That is a pretty important issue, blah, 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 whatever the complaint might be. And they can then take this up, escalate it internally and find out what's going on and make sure you have the answers to your question. So it's not just about buying things and buying more products from us and stuff like that, although the commercial aspect of that relationship, of course, is held by the account managers, but it's not just about that. They would not be doing their job if they're not looking after your interests from the point of view and make sure you're happy, meaning, what you're paying for is actually working. That's the number one priorities. And as a matter of fact, please use me as a point of escalation if you think the account managers aren't doing their job this way. Does that make sense? Okay, very good. So that is a one point I want to make sure I drive home and people, are aware of it and understand how the structure and the focus of the company on the success of the clients. And then we get started with the demo straight away. So that is the agenda. Do we have an agenda thing? All right, very good. So reference checking and the product updates. Yes, precisely. I'll just open with the little thing about the account management, and we get started. Welcome.
I was just
Sorry,
going to
Jess,
say,
go
we're
ahead.
good to go.
Very good. I'll start again as more and more people jumped on the webinar. Thank you for taking the time, guys, and welcome to today's webinar. As you can see the agenda in front of you, we'll be focusing on the automated reference checking. That will take probably the majority, 3/4 of the time. And with the time remaining, we'll spend about 5 minutes or so talking about the police check and another 5 minutes about the visa check. So these two products are coming up in the next 3 months or so. And we will talk about the features, how they would work, and the pricing model, how you would purchase those products, and roughly the pricing for them as well. And how they would be, natively built within the platform, as opposed to using a third party, which is we're not doing, because even the federal agency ACIC in Canberra stopped that kind of relationship. They don't want software vendors like ours to be working through a third party, and so it took us in the last year and a half to get the direct accreditation with our friends in Canberra, at ACIC. And finally we got it, and we've been working on the product, and we're about a few months away now from rolling out that product. But along the way, we discovered that we can also roll out the visa check. A lot easier and clearly a lot cheaper to do a visa check. It doesn't even compare price-wise, fifth the price or something like that. And so the two products will be rolled out around the same time, because they are using essentially very, very similar technologies and stuff. So we will be doing them at the same time. So from a demo point of view, the training, step-by-step training, we will be focusing on the automated reference checking. But just one thing I wanted to say before we start. I'm joined today with, in the background, Eddie from marketing, who's doing all the tech stuff, but also 2 account managers, Jesse and Jasmine. As always, it's pretty much their is that a podcast, or what do we call this? A webinar, I'm sorry. It's their webinar. It's about them, engaging with you guys. And just one thing I wanted to emphasize, that account managers to be doing their job properly. It's not about selling. It's not about making sure you're aware about the other products that you might be purchasing from us, although that's part of their job. The commercial aspect of the relationship is part of their job. But the number one priority for them is to make sure that you're happy, meaning what you perceived when you bought the product, the value for you will be, is actually obtained. And that's what we call client success. When you succeed at obtaining the value from the platform that you perceived should be obtaining when you came to us to purchase the product. That should be the number one priority. And, they are in a sense, your first point of escalation if you feel the support is not delivering on what they should be doing, the technical support line, the phone and the email. If they're not delivering on how you feel the ETAs should be working, then you reach out to account managers, although you're more than welcome to reach out to me as well. A lot of you know me directly, and of course you're welcome to reach out to me, but that's what the account managers are for. And if you feel the account manager is not doing their job well, you're more than welcome to escalate it to me as well. So that's sort of the structure that you've got there. And I wanted to make sure that you guys understand that, and you're comfortable that you've got a team of pretty much about 9 people right now, all focusing on client success, whether it's tech support, whether it's the implementation team, or whether it's the account managers, the commercial team and the account managers, and the technical team and the account managers. So 9 people focusing on client success. So please reach out, let me know whatever you think that you're not happy with. We will find a way to make sure you're happy. I'm so you're on it. Okay, thank you for listening to my boring speech. Let's now get going with some training. So the automated reference checking. I'm logged on to an account here. I'm sharing, sorry, am I sharing my screen or not yet? Oh, sorry, guys, we will share the screen now.
Drum roll.
Hopefully it works, yeah? that's it. We had a hiccup yesterday. I had to reboot the computer for the screen sharing to work. So that's pretty appropriate from Jasmine there. All right. Is that working, guys, now well? The screen sharing? Fantastic. So I'll jump to here. I'll start from scratch. I'll close the account setting completely. So I'm logged on to our, webinar testing kind of fictitious account. And I'm logged on as someone who is an admin. That's the only permission that you need. As long as you're an admin, you can do what I'm doing. So I'm going to go to account settings. It opens a new tab. It keeps that tab here open for you. And in here, there should be a dedicated, halfway through in the middle here, reference checks menu. What you can see here is the fact that I've already got a reference check. We call that a process. You can call it whatever you like, really, to be honest. I don't know if it's the best name for it, but you'll see why we call it a process. So you already have that entity, that a reference check set up, and you can go in and edit it from here and make changes. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new one, and you'll see why I wanted to keep this one here, because you can have multiple of those. For example, you might have, multiple entities in your business, and they do different things. You hire different kind of people and professionals in those two entities, and therefore you want to have maybe the language to be different, the kind of questions you're asking, the questionnaire that you're putting to the referees, for example, need to be more customized towards that type of industry, those roles, those job families. Or even one entity. It could be only even 100 people only company, smaller company compared to the larger clients that we have. And yet you want to have 2 of those, or 3 for this matter, for each job family you feel maybe you want to customize it. To be honest, from my point of view, the less the better. I'm not encouraging you to go crazy and do 10 and confuse yourself or whatever, but I'm saying you built it because there's definitely sometimes a need to have multiple of those. And what will happen later, what you'll see when we integrate whatever we build in here, when we finally integrate it in your recruitment workflow, when you say you move someone to automated reference checking, if you have multiple of those live, meaning commissioned, you will then, the platform will say, oh, look, which one do you want to send? Or they could be even customized even in a better way. But nevertheless, that's the reason we thought you might need to have more than one. So we'll get going now and start a brand new one. So all I'm doing here is I've just clicked on a new reference check. I'm going to give it a name. It's an internal name. No one sees that. So whatever for you and your team to understand which one is which, I'm going to just say here, checking webinar version 2. Automated. This is an important tick box here. I'm just going to zoom slightly on this in case anybody can't see it well. Automatically send questionnaire to referees. What that means, I've mentioned this about 5 minutes to 11. Not many of you were on the call then. At high level, with the automated reference checking, it doesn't have to be 100% automated. And what I mean by that, at high level, if you can just look at this here, guys, for a moment, the step 1 and step 2. So at high level, the way we approach this process, it's got 2 steps. The first one is to communicate with the candidate and solicit the referees. Say, hey, we need referees from you, and we help you to customize to make sure that form is so quick to create and blah, 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 but also to say how many do you need minimum? Do you need 1 minimum and or 2 or 3, that kind of thing. So you will see that in a moment. But at high level, you're communicating with the candidate and say, look, I need referees from you. And then once the referees come in, they are collected, meaning submitted by the candidate. That's what this is all about. Step 2, which is now to go out to those referees and say, look, you've been nominated as a referee by blah, 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 who, worked with you in the past. We would like you to please click on this link to complete a questionnaire about your experience with their employment in the past. So that is the part, the step 2, that this tick is pertaining to. Do you want to reach out automatically? The platform will continue moving to step 2 straight away. Or do you want to do that manually yourself? You want to call them yourself. Now that you have the data, you want to jump on the phone, you've got their phone number being collected, email, etc. You want to call them, whatever you want to do. So clearly, for that to be automated reference checking, the majority of the time, it would be done this way. But sometimes you might have one process automated and one process is not automated. Depending on the roles, you say, look, I want to automate the idea of collecting the information from the candidate, meaning the referee's information. But for this particular job family, for this particular role, I want to call them directly. So you can have two processes. One is called automated and one is called not automated. So it's really flexible, and that's another reason why you might want to have more than one processes. So that's what that tick box is. So let's keep going now. The first part, the first step, I'm sorry guys, my phone not on silent. It is on silent now, apologies. The first step is the referee nomination. So this is when we're reaching out, we're sending an email to the candidate, asking them to provide the information of those referees. In that step one, there's two parts. The first part is the form itself, how you want to collect the referee information from them, details from them. And the second part is the email. Maybe logically speaking, we'll start with the email. It's the first part. They see the email first, then they click on the link to provide the information. So what the email is, you might have, it's a library. So if you've created any email templates before, they will be available here for you to reuse from. Otherwise, you'll just start from scratch. So we'll start from scratch here because majority of you who will be taking this up will be starting from scratch. This is a description. It's an internal name. Call it whatever you want to call it. It really doesn't matter. The subject is very interesting to make sure it doesn't get ignored by the candidate. So you might want to put the name of the company, the job they applied for. I mean, clearly when you're collecting reference checking from people, it wouldn't be the first time you speak with them. I'm assuming, please correct me guys. I'm not an HR person, but from my experience working with a lot of you guys, it would have to be at least step two. They are aware of you. They've progressed a little bit in the funnel. And so when they hear from you, that's an important thing. So the name of the company becomes quite important in the message for them to understand the urgency or the importance of it, I'm assuming. So you would pick the name of the company here. So for example, in my case, Martian Logic, next step, reference check, something like that. I'm sure you can come up with something a lot better than that. But also what you can do, we've got some tags. If you want to automate that as well, for example, that would be the recruiter name. That's the name of your company. In case the way you're set up in our platform, you're using the multi-branding, meaning you have more than one entity. And when you're recruiting as professional services, helping all these entities, you want to be able to present the name of the entity appropriately. That's the multi-branding setup. Maybe a few people on this call have that set up, and that's why you would want to use it automated as opposed to just hard coding it there. If there's one entity, makes no difference then in that case. So the reply to, there's a couple of options. It's a drop down. The default is the logged in user. So it would come in as if, not come in, I'm so sorry. If they opt to reply, it would come into you. We don't do spoofing. So the from will always be some generic email, appropriately generic from the platform, because otherwise that will impact the creditability and the deliverability of that email. Spoofing is bad for business. And so, however, if they want to reply, that's what this option is. The emails, as you know, have got that capability, the email protocol. And so the two options available for you, the logged in user, it would come into you, or the generic email that is set up against your account. That's the two options there. We'll keep it as it is. You can insert a logo in here. And these are some tags that you can have in the message here. This message there, when you click on it, it comes up with some compact, interesting, HTML formatting capabilities. So you can do a bunch of things in here and write the message. So the default message is we will need to, so you could do things like, hi, John. Oh, sorry, the hi, John is done already for you there. So we get started straight away. At this point, point or stage in the recruitment process, as a matter of fact, don't we have a tag? Sorry, just one sec for the job title. Why isn't here? I'm really surprised. I'm almost certain the job title should be as a tag as well. Please come back to me, guys, on this if you're need to, that I'm almost certain, and we will make it available. Check with me if it's not available and you need it. I'll make sure that it's available. It's like a deja vu. I'm almost certain we've been there before and we've added the job title as a tag, because I would have liked to mention the job title, because that's how it's going to ring a bell for them and make sure they understand that the relevance of your message. At this point of the recruitment process, in regards to the job, blah, 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 that's where the tag will be. We would like you to provide referees. Oh my God, etc., etc. And the link is always there. You don't need to do the link. That's the submit referees there. So this is just a message in between the hi John and the link. You just need to type the message in the middle, and this is what like. Okay, thank you very much. So I'll just save it as it is now. Save template. So the template now is available, and it will be here that you can reuse it with other, if you're doing this again, if you want more than one reference check process, you can reuse these assets. We made it quite reusable. So you don't start from scratch. You can reuse aspects of those, and aspects being those 4 pieces that we'll be creating, 2 in step 1 and 2 in step 2. You'll see what that means in a minute. So that is the message now to the candidate. You can assume now they will be clicking on that link to provide the referees. The first part of the step 1 that we skipped here is how you would like that form to look like, and I'll explain what that means. If we go start from scratch, referee collection form, and I'll hit enter. It brings up the normal form editor, so there's nothing new that you need to learn. I'm almost certain everybody on this call has edited an e-form of some kind, whether it's the application form or something like that at some stage. What's really interesting and different about this is we have built a special field type, which is what that is. So it's a special type. It's all in one. You don't have to build it step by step, name and last name and email and phone and company and position. It's all done for you. All you have to do is just decide how many of them and which ones are mandatory, which ones are not. We kick off the process for you by saying, okay, look, at least you're going to need a referee, right? At least you need to have one. Otherwise, it's just really not valid. So we have that in here. But what you can do then is add more. You click on this. The type is right there, candidate references. You click on that. Is it mandatory? So let's assume we're going to have only one mandatory and the other one not mandatory. So what I'll do, I'll call it second referee and non-mandatory. It's very, very optional. And the first one, I need to edit it and make the name appropriate. First referee. Please provide your first referee. You can type whatever you like. You're all familiar with how this works, the editor of the e-form. So it's just a field. So that's your first referee, your second referee. The first one is mandatory, second is not. I'm done. This is all you have to do. That is the beautiful thing about this. You did not have to build those piece by piece. All right, so I'll get out of this. So the form is now available to use. This is the one. It's a library, as you can see. So when you build a form for the purpose of reference checking, it stays in your library, and you can interchangeably switch between them or use them across different processes and all that. It's really highly reusable. It's really cool. I really like the architecture of it. All right. So that's now we're done with step 1. We have built the form. We have built the message that is sent to the candidate in order to entice them to complete the form. Step 2 is now we're communicating with the referees, because we're assuming that because you tick this, as soon as the referees are provided, as a matter of fact, even one at a time, I believe. No, it's actually a form. I'm sorry, it's submitted at the same time. So once the referees are provided, we immediately, the platform, all in the background, instantly says, okay, I've got now some work to do. I've got 3 referees provided, and I'm going to communicate with them. And that's when the email to the referees is sent, and the link to the questionnaire is there. And that's why we need to complete that step here, which is, what is the questionnaire going to look like, and what's to start with, as I said, what's the message to the email message is going to look like before they even click on the link to the questionnaire. So I like to start with that as first. So let's look at the email template. I've got a couple here. I've got one because I've done this before. I can work with it, reuse it, or I can start a new one. We're going to start a new one. The name is internal, as I said, just a matter of a library item to distinguish between that. I'll put a new webinar, version 1, and the subject is important here because those referees, you can assume they're, in managers' sort of positions, and they're not going to be checking every email as they get probably bombarded with emails. You really need to make sure your email stands out. They can understand the substance and the significance of it, and so they can open it. And that's why I suggest the name of your company. Oh, actually, as a matter of fact, I would love your feedback. As a matter of fact, I would love for you to type what you think. But in my opinion, what you want in the subject is the name of the candidate at a minimum. Of course, add something else, but the name of the candidate is what's going on. Oh, hold on, I'm hearing back from Jasmine, from Anwar, from Jesse, from etc. Oh, okay, what's going on here? That's my ex-employee, or etc., etc. And that's why the relevance where it happens. Can I hear from you guys what you think is important to have in the subject? And I'll keep going while you're typing this, just for this.
All right, so we've got some from Rachel, candidate name and reference check request.
Beautiful. Okay, so let's do that. Request for reference or reference checks. Let's do exactly what Rachel suggested. Thank you, Rachel. Reference check request, and put a pipe in here in the candidate name, and that's why we've got those tags in here. That's the full name, easier. Is that what you thought, Rachel? Something along this line, yeah? And anybody else? Any suggestion? Anything else that you think would be important?
And the other one was candidate name and company name.
Yes, we did the company name, so that's reference check request. This tag here is the full name of the candidate, and then the company name. Okay, so maybe we start with the company name or put the company at the end. Really up to you. I'm just going to put the company name here. That would be, in my case, Martian Logic. If you have, as I said, multiple entities, you can just use a tag instead. If you want to use the multi-branding aspect of it, as opposed to right at the top, the head office. If it's the head office at the top, you can just hard code it. It's not going to change. If you use a multi-branding and you want the various brand to be presented here, then you use that tag. I hope that makes sense, guys.
And Mark has also mentioned the position that they've applied for, which is that job title tag, which will follow
Yes,
up on.
that elusive job title tag that Anwar keeps talking about, but no one can see. Maybe it's something, one of these dreams I have about the technology, and I think it's done and wasn't done. I promise you, if you need it, it will be ready in the next few days. I know for a fact. As a matter of fact, it would be like this. Oops, one sec. Sorry. Job title. Okay, it would be like this. It will be available for you, I promise. Okay, so this is the subject. Now the reply to a similar thing, just the reply to of the email. The email is always an appropriately generic email from the platforms. So the creditability of the email is high, because we don't want to do spoofing. I'm repeating that, forgive me, but it's important. The same thing, the logo, the tags here that you might want to use in the message. In the message, it says, "Hi, John, we already have something for you to work with. You can edit and chop it and change or whatever, but the default message is, hi, the name of the referee. Hi, referee. John Smith has listed you as a reference, but you can just change it, make it your own. I'm just going to, for now, I think we're need to move quickly a little bit, I'm going to put in here version 2 just to save it to be different. And I'm going to see if these are the tags, we looked into them, and we're ready to go. I'm going to save the template. So that's all you had to do. We had the link ready for you, the whole thing ready for you, just that message in the middle as per the previous part of the setup as well. All right, so now we built that message. We can select it. It's that template. It's in the library now. This is the one. We will select it. Let's go now to the questionnaire. That's the one where you would spend a lot of the time in the setup, right? Everything else is really super quickly in 5 minutes that you can do. There's a little tick box here. Might as well cover it now, just before we go into the form to build the questionnaire. Ask referee if they wish to be considered for future roles. So we felt, came from a couple of clients, this idea. They felt there's an opportunity here that maybe can be seized when you're communicating with managers to see if they are looking for work and be able to really build a pipeline of candidates at no cost to you, as opposed to having to advertise and all the drama that comes with getting people into the applicants into the system. And so that's really what that tick box is, how it manifests itself, how it works. You will see it in a minute when we tick it. It'll be a question right at the end. We inject at the end of the questionnaire, pretty appropriately, professionally presented to say, just tick this if you're interested in us contacting you. And what will happen, we create a job in your just like a normal job. It's got a special power to it where you can't close it by accident and you can't delete it and stuff like that. But nevertheless, it really is a job. And all the responses, all the people that said yes, we in the background create a candidate entity for them. We build them as if they are candidates, because do you remember, we know their emails, we know their phone number, we know their name, we know everything about them that you need to know, a company they work for, etc. We build a candidate record for them and we assign that candidate as if it's an application against that special job. The job would be called something like a pipeline from referee reference checking kind of thing. And so you can always go to that job and look at who came from that channel. You can call it now a channel if you like, and start to process those applications business as usual. The same recruitment process. As a matter of fact, you might even build a special recruitment process dedicated to that job. So that means you're reusing the entire recruitment and onboarding technology against those candidates, those inquiries that come from there. You're not doing anything special. Everything falls in that same underlying recruitment flow. Okay, so let's now go and customize a brand new form. I've got a couple probably here, but I'm not going to use them. We're going to start from scratch.
In regards to the form, Kate has asked in that referee collection form, if it's mandatory, do all fields have to be completed? Is in this instance, they don't request email addresses from referees as they're always contacted by phone. Sorry,
Jasmine, I missed which form, the one we're about to build or the one we built already up at the top?
Apologies, that was a referee collection form.
Yeah.
So are all the fields mandatory?
Well, the fields within each block, yeah? At the moment, I believe they are, but I think it's quite reasonable to be, because, you know, how can they not give you their phone? Is that maybe what you're saying, is sometimes they don't want to give you their phone and maybe just the email? They don't want to be contacted on their phone? I mean, really not much to that information. Let's have a look. What I'll do, I'll just edit that form and let's go through it. And I think this is where what you're saying, yeah? I mean, name and surname clearly is a no-brainer. Email is a no-brainer. The company, how can they be a referee if they don't confirm the company that they work for? To confirm that's where that person worked, etc., and their position. I don't believe there's anything questionable here, in my humble opinion. I could be wrong, other than the mobile. Can we please get some feedback from?
Yeah. So Kate is saying that in their instance, they only contact the candidates by phone. And for Sarah, she's finding a lot of candidates don't want to talk on the phone, so they're only requesting the email address. So that in that instance, we could separate this into separate blocks. So
yeah, sure. I haven't thought about this. I haven't had that question before. I think it's a very good question. I think it's an interesting one. At the moment, we're treating that block. If it says this block is mandatory, that means every element within it is mandatory. I'm sure we can make that more customizable where you will be able to say, I want the mobile to be mandatory or not. In the meantime, if you're not using this piece and you want to take it up, we're, as you will see at the end, we're doing a 2-week trial to you guys. We've got a little link that you click on to request a free trial. We will, within the free trial, 2-week free trial, we will make sure we address your concern and make it work exactly how you want it to be. I know it's not rocket science to do it at all. I just didn't think that if you want to be a referee, this is too much information for you to provide. This is how we felt, but you know, you could well be right. Okay, we'll move on from this. Cheers, guys. So the last point, the last step in here, got 4 steps in total. The last one is to build a questionnaire, and we'll be ready to make that process, you know, create the process and commission it for use. So what we're going to do, we're going to start from scratch. So we call this a questionnaire. Oops. 1 N, 2 N's. What's going on? Okay. Questionnaire for referees, version 1. Hit enter, and we, what we do, we take the liberty of providing the referee details at the end, because don't forget, this information was provided initially by the candidate. So for convenience, we pre-populate it. However, the referee might be saying, oh, my position has changed. Oh, they got my email wrong. Oh, they can correct it. It's all editable. However, for convenience and to make sure the technology looks smart, we pre-populate it. Otherwise, it's a bit dumb not to do that because you already have that information. That's all there is to it. Other than that, this is when you start to build your questionnaires now. So from the questionnaires point of view, guys, it is really the form builder. You've got a text and text comment box, meaning, you know, the text area, the big one, single choice drop down, multi-choice drop down, date, and date without the days, just month and year, and file upload, and just the label to create some kind of section or explanation area on there. Numbers, I mean, it really is the most advanced probably form builder in the world. There's even a video option on there. If they don't want to answer, they can record themselves answering the question as opposed to typing or flicking drop downs. There's so many options in here. And so that's how you build it. Let's just, for now, build just 1 or 2 questions. If anybody has got their favorite question, please type it for us. My favorite question that I learned it from a great client of ours was, I'm sure everybody uses it. I'm not suggesting they're smarter than you guys, probably a common one in the industry, but for me as a non-HR person was an eye-opener. The question was, would you rehire this person? I thought, oh my gosh, this is just that by itself, to be able to collect that kind of information so quickly without you lifting a finger is so powerful, let alone the other 10 questions that you might be asking. So I'm going to go ahead and start creating that. In the meantime, we need to create 1 more, considering the time that we have left. If you guys can suggest another question, your favorite, that would be amazing. Okay, so we need a drop down. Would you hire this employee, ex-employee, or whatever, this person? What would you type in here? Person sounds a little bit not right. Candidate? For us, they're a candidate. For them, it's ex-employee. Do you know what I mean? I'm a bit... Individual.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Applicant.
Yes, applicant. I like applicant. Individual. Okay. What would you guys... Can I get a couple of opinions about this from the crowd, please?
We've got 2 votes for applicant. 4 for candidate, 1 individual. So I think...
Okay. Eddie, I'm very impressed. Okay, so candidate would be more, yeah, I agree, actually, yeah. And no, I would not. Okay, make sure it's very clear there. And so we're going to change it to candidate because the majority rules, right? This candidate. Applicant or candidate? Sorry, what was it?
It looks like applicants now winning.
Oh, sorry. I
Thank
agree.
you, everyone.
I agree. Question mark. Okay, and it's mandatory for sure. For sure. Okay. Maybe some people want to have in there no comments, but come on, I'm sure not. You wouldn't do that. But up to you. We're just having fun with it. You can see it's so flexible. Do whatever you like in there. What was the second question? Do we have another question?
Yeah, Becky has, how long did you work with the applicant? It's a good one.
All right, I like it. So would that be, sort of how would you want the answer to be? Sort of a few choices in a drop down, or just a free text or number? So for example, number of months or years, and you just allow them to put a number in there for accuracy. All of the above is possible. Can I get an opinion, guys? How would you like to collect this?
Becky votes for free text.
Free text? Okay. I'm going to do it as a drop down just to give you an idea what's possible there. The free text clearly is an easy one. I'm sure you can do it. So here's what I would do, just so you know it's possible, it's available for you. How long? So what was the question again?
How long did you work with the applicant?
Did you work with the applicant? And it's good to standardize the language. So if we use the applicant, we continue to use it everywhere. I like it. It works across the board. I like it. This is good. Okay. So here's what I'm thinking. Less than a year, 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, 10 plus years. This is what I'm thinking. I don't know, guys, if you like it or not. I just want to put it out there that it's possible for you to do things like that. But clearly, a text box would be just as good. Free text, let them write it and just say, oh, look, I worked with them for just only be 3 months, to be honest, blah, blah, blah. You get a bit maybe more of a tone with that. Maybe it's not a bad idea to keep it as a free text. Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. Very good. I think we have to move from this. Sorry, guys. I know this is the fun part. I'd love to spend more time on it, just considering the time. We're going to assume this is the full questionnaire, which wouldn't be the case. We're done with that. So it's part of the library now, and we can select it. It's by default selected. Now you can see the create process is possible. It's enabled this button because we're provided 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now we can create the process. So we have now 2 processes. When you come here, you can edit either of them by just clicking on the edit. Oh, sorry, that's the automation. I need to read it properly. Reminder automations edit. If you want to edit it, you just go into it. Click anywhere in the middle here somewhere to edit it, and then say, oh, you know what? I want to switch. I want to use this form instead of that form. I want to use this template, email template, instead of that email template. Or I want to edit the email template, which is you just select it and click on the edit. I want to create a new one. All of that is possible from the editing point of view. So now let's have a look. What does that mean? How do you use this? That's the fun part, guys, to be honest. That's where everything comes together. And we will emphasize why I've got 2 in here, why the platform even allows you to have 2, for example. Okay, we now switch back to the HR user here. I'm still the admin, and we're going to go into any job that we have. I've got this one here at the top, and I've got a fictitious candidate there. And so I'm going to go into this candidate, and I'm going to look at the processes, the recruitment process that I have in the different stages. I've got the automated reference checking here, so we're going to do that together. So we'll remove it and create it from scratch, the stage and the process. I'm going to click on a cogwheel, just in case some of you don't know about that. If you're an admin or an owner, when you click, you can click on a cogwheel and it will bring you to shortcutting account setting for you, if you like, allow you to customize your recruitment process. Side by side here, you've got the green, the progressing stages, and you can remove any of them and add a new stage anywhere you like. Same with the stopped ones, the red. You can remove, edit, add new ones, etc. So that's all the capabilities that you need here, but you need to be an admin to come to this page. So we're going to go ahead and remove the reference checking. At the moment, I've decided to have the reference checking after the second interview, but this is clearly entirely up to you. I'm going to remove it and build it from scratch step by step. So we're going to decide to do it after the first interview this time, just to show you. It's flexible. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go from scratch. I'm going to use something you're going to laugh, unleash unleash. I need to know how to spell it first, right? Unleash the automated ref check. Okay. Because it's an automated process, it just stays at it until everything's completed. I just comes to mind this unleashing thing. I don't know why. I'm in a creative mode this morning, but I thought just gets the point across. Forgive me for being not funny enough for you this morning. The reference checking, we've got, I'm sure, a what do we call this? Sorry, guys, I'm just looking at the milestone. The milestone is a mandatory. You've got to choose one of the things in the drop down. I thought we have a milestone for reference checking. Give me one sec.
Probity checks?
Yeah. Well, I think that's the one I'm supposed to use. Yeah, probity checks. Cool. This only is important. Well, it is very important. Let's try to get it right all the time, guys, when you're doing admins, because it helps with the reporting. We want to know at high level what that stage is, because from the name, we won't know. It's customizable. Call it whatever you like. We want to know what category. So when we've got reports and show you, okay, you've got now, for example, 50 people in interviewing stages. You might have 5 interviewing stages with different names and all that, but they all belong to a category called interview. We will then collate them all and say, look, you've got 15 interviewing. That kind of thing. It's important to get it right. So I'm going to choose the probity checks. Jasmine was right. Next, you don't have to do anything here. I'm just going to save and close. And here it is. So now we're going to link the processes that we created into this. We're going to fuse them together. So there's something called here, link and action linked. We click on that, and there should be here somewhere, I'll zoom on it, start a reference check. That's the action. Now you can choose which one you want. And I believe you can add the second one. And that's why I wanted to show you, if you have to, how that would work. Oh, I can't remember which one we already selected. Yeah, cool. That's the 2 of them now selected here, if that's what you want, as opposed to just one. And you'll see what that means. So we're done. We close this one. Now it's available straight away here. So we're going to assume now we've done all these steps in the process, and we got to the point of we've interviewed them. We're happy with the first interview. At this point now, before we go any further, we want to get some reference checking. All you've got to do, as it says, is unleash. And it tells you, see, we don't mislead you when there's any automation. We put this extra little piece of information here. That means something's going to happen. So as opposed to just a normal stage, which is just like a tag, all you're doing is you're tagging that person now. They are at the stage. There's automation here we indicate. And so when I move them to this, because we linked more than one process, and as I said, that's fairly not very common. Only probably 25% of you would have more than one process. Nevertheless, all I've got to do now is choose which one. So that would be clearly named appropriately based on the job family and whatever it is. You're not going to be confused which one is that, which one you want to use. And you'll just say, okay, this is a new one, by the way. And we send it on its way. What happens is 2 things will happen for you to know what's going on. I'm just going to close the candidate record, go back into it again, say this is the resume, the cover letter, etc., business as usual. There's a tab in here called the reference checking towards the bottom there, and that's where we put an entry in here showing you what's going on with that reference checking that's on its way now. The status is, there's a status and etc. In there, so it's on its way. The other thing here under the we've got a dedicated menu for the checks, and this is your reference checks here, and that would be right at the top. You just sent it there, and this tells us the whole story. So it says it's the status is with the candidate. You can send the email again if you feel it's been a couple of days. Mind you, we didn't talk about the reminders. You can set automated reminders, so that it can be already set up. Nevertheless, if they call you and they swear that you haven't seen it and blah, 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 while you're with them on the phone, you can say, send it now, can you check? Yeah. The second thing is it says how many requested and how many completed and how many pending. And you can expire it if you want to expire it from here. So do I have any tests that I've done here before? Maybe I can quickly go and find that email. So the email would have come to me. I've sent it to my fictitious candidate. Give me a sec, guys. I need to stop sharing for a moment to find the email. Should have sent it to someone else. How do I stop sharing again? Stop sharing. Just give me 2 seconds, guys.
And while we have a few eager beavers in the chat that are really excited to hear about the police checks, I know we've got 15 minutes left. But
okay, I promised 2 more minutes. I think to your point, we've covered pretty much everything we want to cover here, maybe. Guys, do you think that was, I mean, I don't have to show you how you click on the link to complete the form. And I mean, that's pretty all cool. Well, I think I'm not going to do that. I'm going to share. Thanks for the reminder, Jasmine. We are running out of time. Let me share again. Start sharing again. What probably is more important to explain that, when you're here, you're able to interact with this. It's got so many options. You can, for example, go. There's a couple of options here. Sorry, 1 second. I'm trying to remember how it works, because what you can do, you can intervene and you can say, look, I want to submit this manually or something like that. How do you do this? Send the email again. We'll just send the email. That's not what we want. We want, once you've got the referees provided, and let's say they haven't completed them yet, or they've completed them, they completed the questionnaire, but you're not happy with it or something, you can actually go in and call them on the phone and complete them yourself. You can override, you can turn it into a manual process, although it was automated because they're not responding or for whatever reason. So that's what I was looking for, because there's no referees have been nominated. I could not show you that feature, but really it's very, very rich. I mean, it's been 3.5 years since we've rolled it out. We've had so much feedback from clients. I wouldn't be lying if I said more than 150 pieces of feedback have been implemented in the last 3.5 years. So you can see some of the stuff we can't even remember how it works because we don't even use it to that extent. All came from you guys. We would just add the feature and forget that we even did it. So
just quickly before we move on, Jocelyn had a really good question. Is there a way that you can send different referee forms to, so for example, if you had a entry-level candidate and then you had a referee that was a placement facilitator and another referee that was from work experience. If we're sending out those automated checks, can you send 2 different forms out to those?
Oh, that's an interesting question. No, at the moment, the same form, one questionnaire for that check, I guess, the check being when you're asking that person to nominate the referees. If you're doing it manually, on the other hand, you can, but to be automated, it's not the case. I really like the idea. If there's a need for that, really not rocket science to do. We just haven't heard of that requirement. If this is a deal breaker for you guys, whoever that was, I'm sorry, who was the person? Jocelyn. If that's a deal breaker for you guys and you want to take up the product, talk to Jasmine and about, why this is important, etc. for you guys and what's the timing for you, and we'll see what we can do for you. I mean, we can do it. We will do it. It's just a matter of when, really.
Yeah, as we
So thank you for sharing, though. It's an interesting point. I can see how it can be important for some companies. Just haven't heard of it. I haven't heard of it before. All right, what's next?
Next, should we jump into the police checks?
Okay, I think we should, guys. I know there's a bunch of things I still want to show you here, but I think that you've got the idea. And yeah, we're offering the trial anyway, which is really, that's the bottom line, right? You want to play with it. With the trials, just in case we run out of time to discuss that, it would be all you can eat. That means within those 2 weeks, there's no limit on the volume. If you're a 10,000 people company, one of our largest clients, and you might be able to, within the 2 weeks, squeeze 200 reference checks, for example, go crazy. You can do that. We don't put a limit on it, by the way. So it's a real, you're actually using it, not just playing with it. Cool. So the police check is the first point here. As I said before, it would be we're no broker in the middle. We are a certified, accredited, sorry, use the word, of a provider with ACIC. So the solution would be working seamlessly, the same to what we did here. So if I go back to, the job, the candidate, it would be a stage. You build a stage in here, same thing. So when you go to here, you build a stage called police check, whatever you want to call it, or visa check for the other one that we want to talk about, and you link it, same thing. You link the process, the police check process into it, just exactly like the reference check. You build the police check reference, and then you connect it. Now, the police check would be sold in packs, and it will be, as I said, automated, because when you move a person to the police check stage, we know all information. We know the context, because ACIC want to know context. They want to know clearly about the client, who you are. We know who you are. We know the user. So he's the client, he's the user. The context for the police check is for the purpose of the job title. We know what that is. We know the category. We know the location of the job. So all of that you don't have to touch. You don't have to do anything. We formulate the request, and we start communicating with the candidate straight away that you are requesting them to do blah, blah, blah. We provide all the context and the consent. Consent is very important from ACIC point of view. We have a whole page about the consent. And so they, if they're cool with that, they tick that, they start to continue to the police check, where they start to provide, that's the important stuff. I'm sighing because, my gosh, it's so complicated from our point of view to implement all that. Which is collecting, driving license information and passport and primary and secondary and all these crazy names that they have from the compliance point of view, to identifying, to ID the person. We have to do all the tech to take accountability on IDing the person before we can even ask ACIC to give us the report. And we are responsible for that quality of the IDing, and that's why ACIC have to approve the application before it goes live. They have to be comfortable we've done enough on IDing the person, meaning this is the person who they are claiming to be. We have to be comfortable with that, have done enough points on that before we can say to ACIC, okay, now that we have John Smith, and we would like John Smith to be to run a police check against them on behalf of this company for the purpose of a blah. And by the way, John Smith, here's the consent information about them, blah, blah, blah. Please provide the police check. We have to do all of that first. So that's why it's taken a little while. There's a lot of tech involved to ID that person adequately from ACIC point of view. They have a compliance, they have a minimum requirements or strength on the IDing before they can say, yep, cool, your application can go live. How you purchase it, you purchase it in packs. The biggest pack, let's say, 1,000 police checks will be probably around the $40 per check. So that would be, let's say, $40,000 for 1,000. And if you just buy one at a time, or let's say 5, that's the smallest pack, 5 at a time, you'd be paying maybe 48, maybe 50. To be safe right now, if you want between 40 and between 52. The cheapest is 40. The most expensive one at a time, you're not committing to using it, it would be $52 per check, let's say. Something like that, in that area. These aren't final, but I can assure you that's the min and max anyway. Does that make sense, guys? So let's say a pack of 100 might be $45 each. So that's $4,500 to purchase 100 checks. The Visa check is a lot cheaper, a lot cheaper. It's so easy compared what is involved, and the cost to these federal agencies, the cost for the Visa check compared to the police check is a lot cheaper as well. So something around the fifth of the cost of the police check, if not more, even less. I don't know, but anything between $5 and $10 for the Visa check. A lot cheaper, guys.
And in terms of ETAs as well, when would we look at
3
this?
months.
Yeah.
They will be both rolled out at the same time, because we will be reusing the technology. Wherever we're building will be reused for both of them. As I said, the Visa check is pretty much a step as part of the police check. And that's why we're going to roll it out at the same time. So 3 months, hopefully we'll have both of them commissioned and ready to go. We're finalizing the tech now, but the process of having those, let's call them applications, of having those applications approved by ACIC it takes time. This in itself could take 6 weeks, going back and forth about some small feedbacks. We need more on the consent. The consent page is not clear about a blah. Those kind of things. There's a lot of feedback back and forth, and it takes probably a week before one feedback takes its course. Yeah.
Jessica had a good question on the commercial side. Will the credits from the previous police check packs be transferred over?
Oh my God, yeah. Like I can give you even credits right now. I didn't know we have any client who purchased police checks and still, when we had to end the delivery of the product because of, as I said, wasn't a choice of ours, ACIC decided no broker in the middle. We were working through a third party, and ACIC said, that's it, this is illegal, you've got to stop it today. We had to stop it on a 24-hour notice. It was the craziest thing we've ever done. Nevertheless, we can even give you your money back now, let alone we give you credit. Of course, I'm so sorry if you felt that you didn't know about that, or God forbid you asked for it and we didn't do it for you. So can you please get in touch with Jasmine straight after this call?
Absolutely, Jessica. I'll reach out to you directly offline.
We will take care of that for you. Whichever choice you want to do, we'll do either. Whether we take it against your next subscription, we give you the credits now, whatever choice you'd like.
Easy. And Sabina had a good question. Will we receive hard copies of the police checks as they come through?
Oh, it's a PDF.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. And then whether you print it or what you do with it, yeah. But it's definitely a PDF. And there will be some rules about how long before we have to delete the PDF. They've got strict rules where we have to keep it for a certain time, but we have to delete it after a certain time. There's 2 sets of rules we have to play by, and it has to go. I can't remember the details of that, but yeah, nevertheless, it'll be available for you as a PDF. But also, I mean, there's an answer in the sense that nothing was found, blah, blah, blah. That will be just a simply, yes or no kind of thing. You can see it quickly. But if you want to see the full report, let's call it, that would be a PDF that you can see and be able to download. I mean, it's a very, 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 very private piece of information. So ACIC is very strict about what we can do with this piece of data and who can see it and how long we can store it and blah, blah, blah. I can't remember the details of that, but that's big, big, big part of the compliance. When I was talking before about them approving our application, this aspect, the 2 major aspects are the IDing, for them to be satisfied we've done enough to ID the person prior to the police check is even requested from them. And the second part is the data storage and the deletion of that data. How long do we keep it? How do we keep it? Who do we expose it to? All that. It's a huge part of compliance. So forgive me if I'm misleading you on anything, but we will be following their compliance. Whatever they allow us to do, we will do.
Beautiful. And Sabina also asked how long it will take to receive the PDF once you submit that application.
The quickest way possible, really. What I mean by that, if any vendor can do it in 24 hours, we will do it in 24 hours. If any, because we're working with a partner, you're working with the candidate to start with. The good news is there aren't many manual touches in our process. There's a very small, very minor amount of manual intervention by our support team to just validate a couple of things, and that's all on the ID. So once we're comfortable with the ID, and then we send it to ACIC. But there are cases where it's super quick, and there are cases where it takes time from the ACIC point of view. So that's really the only unknown from our point of view. We know that we can make our process super quick, meaning within 24 hours at the latest, it's now submitted to ACIC, sometimes almost within an hour, within 30 minutes. And then from ACIC point of view, whether it's a few hours for that particular check or whether it's 3 days, that will be an unknown. We really cannot control, because they have to go through the different state police thing and check. Sometimes in some cases, it takes them a while to get all that information, not just the federal at the top information. It's a very complicated process. They don't even share too much with us how they do it. So that is something we can't control. On average, as I understand, a day or 2.
Yeah, perfect. All right. And Crystal just wanted to confirm that once the report is returned, it will automatically just connect with the candidate in the system. It will be sitting under their candidate profile.
Absolutely. And you get notified and all that, because we're building it. We have full control over how we do that. Of course, that's It's a very good question, but it's an absolute no-brainer from our point of view. Notification, yeah, absolutely. And it'll be like a separate even tab to manage all of them. Just like how with the checks, you've got a page, a universal page for all the checks, as well as a tab under the candidate record for that check as well, one or more checks. Same thing.
Beautiful. We're right on time.
Alrighty. That is amazing. Right on time. So did we have a survey? Guys, one question I really would love for you to complete. I think I haven't given Eddie too many opportunities to put up those surveys.
I've been putting them in.
Oh, you have? Oh, thank you so much. Guys, that one question means a lot to me, is that whole recommending thing, because to us, it really is the ultimate answer, whether you like the product, what you saw or not. If you can just answer this, just a 1 of 5 answers, I would really appreciate if every one of you engages with that question. What is it, Eddie? I can't see the screen at the moment.
On a scale of 1 to 5, how likely are you to recommend?
Yeah. To me, it's interesting. Just I'll keep you amused while you're doing this for us. It's the bottom line for me. It's like when they say money talks and bullshit walks. Forgive me for the crude language, but this is really what it comes down to, right? I probably, some of you heard that before. When you go to a restaurant, you say, "Oh, experience was good. Yeah, they were nice. The bread was nice." But then when you say, "So would you go back again?" Oh, this is the same thing. Would you recommend it to me is the ultimate thing. Did you really like what you saw or not? So it would mean a lot to us, guys, if you can answer that as accurately as exactly how you feel.
We've got that pop up in the left-hand corner of the screen to request a free trial for the reference checks. So we look forward to hearing you, getting you set up. Excited
yes, that's right. The last thing is, to guys, if you're interested in free trial, sorry, Jasmine, can you repeat that? I didn't get it. Where's the link?
There's a pop-up in the left-hand side of the screen.
Is that what that is? Okay.
And we can contact you to get you set up for a free trial.
Eddie, the guy runs the tech part of that. He's the creative director in the company, so he's too fancy. I didn't even know that was a thing. It's too fancy for me. Reference check, free trial, get free trial. So that's the link to the form for you to submit your request. Okay, thank you, Eddie. Looks great.
Alrighty.
Guys, thank you so much for your time. If you want to reach out after this to me, to Jess, to Jasmine, any questions, etc., feel free to reach out. I'm always available. And as I said before, I want to reiterate, more importantly, if you're not happy with support or anything like that, if there's anything that you bought that is not working, the onboarding, the automation of the contracts, the request to hire workflow, the recruitment process is maybe a bit old, you want to refurbish it and stuff. Whatever you need, I'm offering you guys immediately a health check and a brainstorming session completely for free. We will work with you as much as you need to make sure you're succeeding, even if it takes 10 sessions at no cost. We want to make sure whatever you paid for is working for you. Please reach out. And have an awesome day. I'll talk to you very, very soon. In a couple of weeks' time, we're going to be sending a new invite to another series of 8 webinars over the next 3 months for the next quarter. We'll be sending that invite soon, and we'll see you soon in a couple of weeks' time.
Thanks.
Cheers,
everybody.
guys. Bye.
Cheers.
Chat to you soon.
And how do I finish this? Yes, there. End session. Yes, and